Coming up on this week's Ask GCN thing, we have answers to the questions about tan lines, to rogue heart rate monitors, to riding with wedding rings, to where to hold your handlebars. All that and more. We've got all the important questions covered, including this one from the oncoming Drizzle on Twitter, who's asked, is it okay to say to a stranger that their bike is nice, or is that a little bit like saying that their girlfriend or boyfriend is hot? Well, I suppose much like that second question, it kind of depends on the delivery. So if you say that their bike is nice, but in a manner that suggests that you want to push them off it and then run off with it, I'd say that's not cool. But otherwise, getting a compliment as to how nice your bike looks, I think we can all get on board with that, can't we? Anyway, perhaps a slightly more hard-hitting question now. We've got this one sent in from Svein Helgason. He says he's been experimenting with different tyre sizes. What do we think about using a 25 on the front and a 28 on the back? He's saying that 25mm tyres are optimal from aerodynamics perspective with his wheels, but that he's got a bad back and the 28mm gives more comfort. Well, firstly, I'd say that running different size tyres, front or back, is absolutely fine. If there's not too much difference between them, then you're not going to get any negative characteristics. I would say the difference from an aerodynamics perspective between a 25 and a 28 is minimal. And actually, you may find that you go faster anyway from a faster rolling 28. And the fact is, if you get a dodgy back from using thinner tyres, then you want to make sure, first and foremost, that your back is okay, and that will make you go faster too. If you want a little bit more info on the whole wider tyre topic though, then the video playing just in the background there tries to put to rest some of the enduring myths about tyre sizes. So take a look at that one.
Now, one of the most intriguing but also significant benefits is actually that wider tyres generate less rolling resistance. Now, it's hard to know why we've only really just cottoned on to this fact, given that rolling resistance data has actually been out there for quite some time. But nevertheless, it is there, and a 28C tyre is shown to roll 2 to 3 watts faster on average than its equivalent 25C tyre, and that is per wheel and at 40k an hour, and the difference is even greater on 23s.
Next up, we've got to delve into our pockets because we've got this question sent in on Twitter from Watermillo, who's asked, what things should I bring every time I go for a very long ride? There's no easy answer to that one because a lot depends on where you're riding. So if, for example, you live in the UK, then I would strongly recommend that you take an extra layer with you, preferably a waterproof one, because you never know when you're going to get wet. However, the chances are that if you live in more of a desert area, then that's probably not going to be worthwhile. You'd be better off taking more water with you. But to try and sum up, I guess, make sure you've got enough water and enough food so that you can either get through your ride in its entirety or get to a place where you know you can refill. Then you need to make sure you've got enough spares with you, so a couple of inner tubes, a puncture repair kit, and a multi-tool with a chain tool on there, and of course a pump. And then I suppose the only thing is whether you do need to take any extra clothing with you either, because it's going to be really hot or really cold or wet. Then you have another question on your hands, which is where on earth do you store all this stuff? So Matt and I did try and tackle this burning question just behind, as you can see. So make sure you tune into that one to work out where to put everything when you're going out for a long ride.
Now, if you're going out for a reasonably long bike ride, you're going to want to take some food with you. Potentially quite a lot of food. So let's just put some of that in there.
You have a mix of bars and gels?
Yeah, a mix of bars and gels. Secondly, you're going to want to take another layer of clothing, and even packed down nice and small, it's still going to take up a fair bit of room. And finally, in this modern era, without shadow of a doubt, you're going to most likely want to take your phone with you. So let's just pop that in there as well.
Right, it's time now for the quickfire round. First of all, we've got a very cool question sent in by Rick Snyder, who said, how is it that every single climb became shorter and much less steep after I lost 15 kilos, thanks to training with GCN? Well, firstly, we've got to say, that's very cool. Cracking achievement. Very, very well done indeed. And you also make a very good point. Climbs do kind of become shorter and less steep if you lose kilos, mainly because that's one of the predominant things holding you back when going up hills. But you also make a good point about getting shorter, because if your climb that did take 40 minutes then takes 25 minutes, it means you can actually ride up it at a higher intensity and go faster still. So yeah, win-win. Anyway, congrats again there, Rick. Next up, we've got this one from Vegas Cycling Freak. Have you ever had your heart rate monitor give you a crazy high heart rate? Last week, I saw 234 on my head unit. Yes, I have had that. In fact, I've had it both ways, either super low or super high. And basically, a heart rate monitor, certainly a few years back, was nowhere near a medical grade tool. So it's open to variation, either through interference from like power lines or something like that, or indeed simply not fitting tightly enough around your chest. So I wouldn't worry about it. Although if you do have persistent worries about your heart, then clearly you want to go and see a doctor straight away. You don't want to mess around with that kind of stuff. Okay, we got Liam Sangaku, who has asked about cycling tan lines. Are they a bad thing or are they something to be proud of? Well, a bit depends on who you ask, I suppose. For many people, a cycling tan line is something to be proud of. It shows how dedicated you are to cycling. It shows that you have committed hours and hours in all weathers and a lot of sunshine to get that cycling look. But then equally, tans are not necessarily a good thing now. They're not considered necessarily to be the healthiest. And equally, when you take your cycling stuff off, maybe when you go to the beach, you look like a bit of a numpty. So if you never go to the beach, then go for cycling tan lines. I know I've still got mine pretty badly. And yes, I look like a numpty on the beach for many reasons. Okay, Andrew Logan has asked, how is Matt finding riding with a wedding ring? Is it affecting his grip and his comfort? I'm not sure actually, I haven't asked Matt. I don't suppose it would be, but here's something quite interesting. We've noticed and spoken to a lot of pros who actually tape up their wedding rings when they're racing, not from a comfort perspective, but from a crash perspective, because you don't want to get it caught on anything, because you can have some quite nasty side effects if you do. So that might be something to think about if, well, not that Matt's going to be doing much bunch racing now, but if you are getting married, maybe tape up your wedding ring when you're racing. And if it was ever going to fall off, then that would stop it. Okay, Prasanna Banwat, what is the ideal foot position on a pedal? I see you guys ride with your toes. I've always used mid-foot. Well, I'm not sure that's quite such a common question these days, but for a while, mid-foot cleat position, so putting your cleat significant way back from the ball of your foot, was considered to perhaps offer greater efficiency on the bike. And it's one of those things where, like a lot of sports science, it's really, really hard to actually prove or disprove something. So all studies have been inconclusive, i.e. it hasn't shown whether or not changing your cleat position does have an effect on your performance. One thing I definitely would say is that a mid-foot cleat position can play havoc with your bike setup. So if you move your cleat back, you're likely to have to move your saddle down because your ankle obviously will have less of an impact. You'll also have to then move your seat forward, and then moving your foot forward on the pedal will also mean that your foot is more likely to hit your front wheel when you're turning, and you'll also then have to either lower your handlebars and probably increase your stem length as well. So it has to be said that bike geometry is based around a set of relatively strict parameters, and if you mess with cleat position like that, then you may well have some unintended consequences on a stock bike. But that shouldn't necessarily deter you if you feel like it makes a difference. But it probably won't, if you catch my drift. Okay, final question on the quickfire round, sent in on Twitter by Simon at Nom de Plume, who has asked why professional cyclists always look like they're seated forward of what's considered to be the industry standard bike fitting method called COPS, which is where the knee is effectively over the top of your pedal axle when your cranks are horizontal. And the reason I think is because a lot of pros now are effectively moving their position forward and then rotating around the bottom bracket. So everything's moved forward. So the seats move forward, and then the handlebars are dropping, and then their stem is extending as well. So you're almost getting more of a time trial position on the bike. So it's all in search of aerodynamics. And then also because the UCI has now allowed you to have a saddle on a tilt, and that's also making people more comfortable when they're in that position. So that's probably the reason. The actual contact points and the position against your hips and everything else probably stays the same. It's just because everything has moved forward. Right, we've got a very good question from the Alex Arrow, who said that he's got his first Gran Fondo in a month, which is the Gran Fondo Segafredo. Have we got any advice about the preparation for this last month? Yeah, I guess we do really. the good news is that you've still got time to make some improvements to your form, but the most important thing to do now is to actually assess where you are currently. So if you're a little bit fatigued, if you've been doing loads of hard training, then you probably don't want to be pushing on too much now. You want to try and back things off and to really feel the benefit of the work you've already done. However, if you feel like you're on top of your training, then by all means push on. Have a think about what aspects of your riding that you want to improve and then focus on them. Or indeed, just try and tick all the boxes. You might not improve in one particular area, but you will consolidate, again, all the work you've done. The most important thing, though, undeniably, is to make sure that you are fresh on the day of the event itself. So it might take 7 days, it might take 10 days of easy riding before you feel like you're in tip-top condition. But make sure that you budget for that when you're going up to that final event. And then Alex has also asked a second question, which is, have we got any tips about good manners during his Gran Fondo? Well, yeah, Matt and Dan did a great video very recently, actually, that will be on top of the channel, which is about sportive etiquette tips. Or you could check out this absolute gem from the archives, which is how to be a gentleman or gentle lady cyclist.
Tapping out a nice tempo, see a dodgy looking pothole up ahead? Don't just swerve around it without a second thought. Point and shout it out so your fellow cohorts don't end up on their face or with a new shaped wheel.
The last question for this week is a very good one. It's sent in by Elad Limburg, who I think is relatively new to cycling because he has asked how you hold a handlebar when you've got 3 positions. So effectively on the tops where your hands are on the flat section, on the hoods, and then on the drops. Now, obviously, you can tailor it to you. It's all based on comfort. But as a general rule, you would hold the tops when you are climbing. It's a very relaxing position, and it's also the furthest position away from your brakes or your gears. So you don't want to be riding anywhere where there's a chance that you have to stop suddenly. So that would be when you're on the tops. Then the drops are for when you want to be going faster, so descending or perhaps fast flat riding. The principle being that you are very close to your brakes there, so you can stop really suddenly, you've got loads of control. And also you would be a little bit more aerodynamic because you're a little bit further forward and you can get crouched nice and low over the bars. Then that leaves the hoods, which is pretty much where most people spend the majority of their time. You can brake from there, you can change gear from there, and it's a really, really comfortable position. The only downside is that there is a very slim chance that you could slip off the hoods if you hit a bump or whatever, which is why the drops are good for if it gets a little bit sketchy or when you're going really fast. Now, that is a very abridged version. Why not click on this video here, which is a very, very, very old GCN video, but it covers all the relevant points. Holding your bar on the tops is great for climbing long, steady climbs. It brings your body up, opening your diaphragm and also tilting your hips back, which makes it easier to recruit your glute muscles for powerful, efficient climbing. This upright position does make it the least aerodynamic one available, creating significantly more drag than both the drops and the hoods. You should really use this position only for climbing or riding slowly, because you're a long way from your brakes. Don't ride like this in a bunch as you won't be able to react in time, and it's a bit irresponsible. Right, well hopefully that has answered a few questions that you may have about cycling. Clearly you're going to have loads more. So do remember, if you want to know anything, you want us to go and look stuff up, just stick your question in the comment section down below or use the hashtag TalkBack on Twitter or Instagram, or indeed the hashtag AskGCN, which seems to be more popular these days. And it certainly makes more sense. I'll give you that. Now, do make sure you subscribe to GCN before leaving this video. It's very easy, just click on the globe. And if you're after some more content, well, it's Giro d'Italia time. How could you not know? So with that in mind, click just down there to watch our Giro preview show so you have all the information you need at your fingertips. Or for 8 riders to watch at the Giro, Lloydie's tips, click just down there.